Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to introduce you to Scott Hand. How you doing, Scott?
Good, Teresa. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. We have a mutual friend, Nicole
Yes, we
Butler.
do. In Nicole Butler Vegas. She's a wonderful lady, and she is the one who asked me if you'd be interested in coming on the show. Could I bring you on? I was thrilled. Always her connections are amazing, and I've already met you, and you're just a likable guy already.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So Scott is an actor, a writer, director, mostly a writer and director, though, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
But they do root me into acting sometimes.
Yeah, no problem. Scott, let's start. What I like to do is talk to people about or hear your story about how you got to where you are today. So, would you
Sure.
give us a little backstory, things that you've done, and then we'll get up to present?
Sure. So this goes way back to the summer of 1979. All right. My favorite aunt had wanted to take me to the movies, and they still had the classic single theaters back in those days, the 150-foot screens. So going to the movies was a real treat, unlike
Good.
the little boxes that they got now. And it was my favorite aunt, and she wanted to take me to see the James Bond movie, Moonraker, with Roger
Oh,
Moore.
nice. Okay.
She was a fan of The Saint with Roger Moore, and she had been an English teacher, and she had used to read the Ian Fleming books. So she wanted to take me to see this movie, and she went. Of course, it was my favorite aunt, no less. So I was never going to say no. But I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't, because I had only been seeing at that point Disney movies. This was going to be something more adult. I knew what I like it. You have a little bit when you're a kid and you're the only boy. You're thinking to yourself, like, am I going to like this? And I did. I love the movie start to finish. It's one of my favorite movies. I've watched it thousands of times. I can basically go through the movie forward and backwards, I think, through all the years. And then I became an avid movie buff, or what do they call them now, cinephiles or whatever it is, right around that time. And it continued. And then when I got into high school, I had gotten a strange call one day. This was in September 1986. I was 14. And it was a woman with a British accent on the phone looking for me. And I said, yeah. And she says she was with Orion Pictures, and they were shooting a movie here on the Wildwood Boardwalk. And they had contacted the high school I was going to and wanted to know if I would be interested in being an extra in their film. I thought it was a joke. I said, sure. And she said, now I see you're only 14. Is your parents home? I got to talk to somebody. So I had to wait for my mom to come home. And I told her to call back in an hour or whatever it was. And my mother comes in and she's in the bathroom. And I'm telling her through the door what's going to happen and all. She comes out and she looks at me and she goes, what are you pulling my leg? And I said, no. I said, seriously. She goes, they just called you? I said, they just called me. Sure enough, the call comes. And I pick it up and here she is. I said, yeah, hold on. She's right here. I said, yeah, this is the woman from Orion Pictures. She couldn't believe it. So I got this little gig in this movie and didn't know anything about it. Didn't know, but the title of the movie, nothing. Didn't know anything. Just you know, you didn't have to worry about arrangements, transportation, or dinner. It would be provided, pizza, and there'd be a lot of us from the school. And they would have these bottles, these shuttles, and we would get on them and they'd take us to the boardwalk and we go up. And I was with my friends and we were just watching them with the cranes and the lights and the lighting for reflectors and things. And we were talking. I was talking to my friend Mike, and I felt a tap on my shoulder. And when I turned, there was these two men in sunglasses smiling at me. And the one guy says, "What's your name?" And I said, "Scott." He says, "I'm Mark. I'm the director of this film." He says, "My partner and I have been looking at you and we like your appearance. Would you mind going up to the front row?" He said, "Because you're going to be right in the front row. You're going to be right in front of the camera." I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." He says, "But it's a period piece." He said, "So I was wearing a 1986 striped shirt."
Sure.
He says, "Go down to wardrobe, tell whatever the woman's name was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
You need a solid shirt." So I went down. She gives me this black shirt. I go up. They put me in the front. Sure enough, the camera's right there, 6 feet away from me. The lens, big lens. And he says, "Now, whatever you don't look at that. Whatever you don't look at that." And then my big question was, when can I not look at it? Because most of the time, you're just standing there waiting for them to figure out whatever it is they're figuring out. The breaks are long. The breaks were ridiculously long. So after about half hour or so, he comes back to me and he says, "How's your acting?" And I said, "I don't know. What do I have to do?" He says, "I want you to meet this man here. This is Freddie." He was a big, burly guy. And he says, he's going to come throw his arms and he's going to touch you. And you got to throw yourself back into this girl. I look, and the girl's got a brace on her leg. I said, I don't think it's a good idea. I said, she's got a brace on. She goes, oh, no, I'm an actress. She's flexing her leg and everything. No, this is just for show. No. I was like, oh. So I said, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, sure. Take one. Hits me. I go back. Take two, take three, take four, take five. So then he comes over and he says, we're going to do it different. I'm going to pick it up in the front here. We're going to move, reposition. Now, this is your mark. Fred, this is yours. He's going to go like this, and you got to throw yourself. He's not going to touch you. You got to throw yourself back. So I'm ready. And I'm waiting, as we all were. All of us were waiting. And we were waiting and waiting and waiting. And everybody started to say, what happened? And eventually we found out they all went on a coffee break, this long extended coffee break. So we're kids. Everybody's yakking. Everybody's talking. We're all in conversation. Out of nowhere, all we hear real fast is action. Freddy's all the way up there. I turn around and look, and I'm going like this. Here comes Joe Pantoliano. I pat him on the back. Cut. Comes over. He says, Scott, you didn't throw. I said, yeah. He said, we're going to do it again. So did it again, and again. When you look at the scene, though, guess what one they used? They used the one where I don't fall back. All the times I fell into that girl. And I have pictures. That my friend had his camera, and he took some pictures of the girl with a brace on her leg. And Jennifer Runyon was the actress in the movie. And
Sure.
if you remember, she was in Ghostbusters in the beginning.
Yep.
And when she was there, I was able to get my picture with her at the time. And I found her on Facebook. And when I sent her the picture, she couldn't believe it.
Oh, that's
She
fantastic.
couldn't believe it. We're talking 1986.
So I heard what you said. You were in high school. Now you get picked for a Ryan film. Now you've got the taste of the acting bug.
And then it doesn't even end there. You would think that'd be it. It ends. You finish high school, you go into a career and everything else. So anyway, I went on and off to college because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I decided I wanted to be a writer. That's really what I wanted to do. And that aunt that I told you about that got me the Moonraker, she was always pushing me to be a writer and training me and everything else. So what had happened was, this was in April of 1993. I was collecting Fangoria magazines because I was a horror junkie at that point. And I was following the career of Anthony Hickox, a British filmmaker who had done Waxwork 2, Sundown, and Hellraiser 3. And he had another movie coming out called Warlock. It was the second one, the Armageddon. And I had the articles, and I was sitting in class, and the teacher says, I want to be doing a creative writing thing. You interview people and all. So she goes around, who you want, my mother, my father, whatever. She comes to me and says, who do you want to interview? And I say, Anthony Hickox. The whole class was turning around. Who? So I'm holding the Fangoria magazine up because I just gotten a new issue with Warlock on it. And they're all saying probably won't be able to get that interview and all that. This friend of mine, he was older than me, Fred Aldrich. He's long deceased now. And he said, Scott, this was 1993, remember?
Sure, yeah.
He says, do you know where he lives? So here I got the Fangoria, and it says Los Angeles, or Beverly Hills, California. I said, yeah, it says Beverly Hills. He says, he can always do the 555-1212. Remember back in those days?
That's right.
So I call, and I get a real person. It wasn't a recording. And I told her who I was looking for, and she gives me this number. She goes, yeah, I got a number at this address, and she gives it to me. And I call, and this woman answers with a thick British accent. And right there, I know I've got him. And I told her who I was, what college I was going to, what this was about. And she said, oh, that's so nice. She said, he doesn't live here anymore, but I'm his mother. And as she's saying this, I have the magazine open, and it says, his mother, Ann V. Coots, as she corrected me, or you would think Coates, but she said, oh, no, it's Coots, was the Academy Award-winning film editor of Lawrence of Arabia. So now I'm looking at this, and I got her on the phone. I've got her right here. And I'm like, oh, can I talk to you for a little bit? Now all of a sudden, wait a minute, I did want to interview you. So she's telling me about David Lean and Peter O'Toole. And I'm trying as fast as I can to go on with notes, but you know how that is when you're 21. Yeah. And then she was telling me, she really got me excited because she said, just finished editing Clint Eastwood's new movie, which at the time, it was In the Line of Fire.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and it wasn't out yet. It was still coming out in 3 months or whatever. And I knew, I said, In the Line of Fire? And she said, oh, yes, you know it? Of course. I said, I can't wait till July. I think it was July 9th or 16th, one of those dates. And so she said, I'm going to give you his private number. And she said, I'm going to call him, leave him a message, tell him, take your call. So I call up. I get this, he had an interesting answering machine. It was like I'm not here right now, but please leave a message. It was something really
And you
weird.
expect that from him too, right?
Exactly, right. So I leave the message. I tell him who I am, and I hang up, and he's going to call back. I know he's going to. And I had a cordless phone, no cell phones tonight. It was just a cordless phone. And it was getting late. But he's on California. I'm on East Coast. So I'm laying on the couch. I didn't even go to bed because I know he's going to call back. I got the tape recorder ready. I got the paper. I got the pens ready. And I'm laying there and I'm falling asleep. And the phone's ringing. You know how you're halfway asleep and you're trying to get to that button and hello, click. And I'm thinking, wait, I know it's him. I look at the clock. It's 2:30. I'm like, call him back. I know it's him. I'm like, wait, now wait 5 minutes and then call him back. Call him back. I'm like, all right, I'll wait 5 minutes and I'll call him back. Phone rings. All right. He must have heard me as he was hanging up. He must have heard. And I said, hello, hello, hello. Yes, Scott. I knew right away. I told him, I had this long conversation and I said, all right, can I record the conversation? The bug, remember the bug? You'd have to put the bug on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I recorded the conversation, and he was telling me at the time about all the optical effects of Warlock the Armageddon, and he was already signed to do the movie Full Eclipse for HBO, which at that point it was called The Pack. They changed the
I
name.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, with Mario Van Peebles.
Oh, okay.
He was the star of that film.
I
And he
learned
was
something new just now, Scott.
What's that?
I just learned something new. I didn't know.
And we stayed in touch for a while, he and I. We really did. We stayed in touch for a while. He got out of the horror genre. He was always ending up getting these projects that were just, it seemed like these projects came out of the wood. They just popped up out of nowhere. Payback. He called me one day and says, oh, I'm already finished my new movie. I said, I didn't know you were even making one. He said, they had a problem. The director quit. They gave me an offer. I took it. It's not a horror movie. It's called Payback. C. Thomas Howell. Then he did another one with Naomi Campbell. I think it was called Invasion of Privacy. And he was excited because he was getting a big break, like a big budget, like a $20 or $22 million budget for a film version of Prince Valiant. And I didn't hear from him for the longest time. And then I guess about a year or so, it was in one of the magazines. It wasn't Starlog or anything. It must have been like Fantastic or something. And I thought to call him. And of course, his number was changed. And so I had to call his mother again. And I spoke to Ann. And that was a good conversation again. And she said, oh, yeah, now I'm going to give it to you. And I want to talk to you. And I called, and he not overly thrilled it had nothing to do with me, but he had a lot of trouble on Prince Valiant. It didn't go well. Okay. He had a lot of problems with the shoot, and I don't believe, if I remember right, and I'm certain I do, because it was a very long. We were on the phone for probably 3.5 hours that night. It was long, well into the hours in the morning, and he was telling me just that I don't think he edited the film. I think the producers just took it from him and cut the film the way that they wanted it. Because I remember him saying to me, I said, it's going right to video. It's going right to video. He said, don't bother. He said, it's most of it's what I filmed, he said. But I said, what do you mean most of it? That's a long story too. He said, but he thought his career for a little while, that's why he wasn't. I think he thought that was it. But then he got that Dolph Lundgren movies. He had two of them. He did Stormcatcher and Jill the Ripper. He had done those two. And then he did The Contaminated Man with Peter Weller.
That I knew, yeah.
And he was doing a bunch of them. I know, again, I think the last time I talked to him, it was an interesting conversation. He went public with it. I don't think I'm saying anything that he didn't already say. But he had done a movie with Steven Seagal, and that didn't go good at all. He didn't get along with Steven Seagal. Okay. So, and I think, again, that's something that even if you just Google it, you'll get an idea without all the cursing, what he thought of that. But he was very encouraging to me. As a writer, I remember talking to him. I said I wanted to do a picture about the Jersey Devil. And he said, what is it? What is the Jersey Devil? And I had to explain, and I was telling him everything. And he said, it could be a great movie. He said, it could be great. He said, no, but he said, we'd have to make it real hard. We got to show the monster. We got to show the blood. You've got to do these things. And I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. He said, why don't you try your hand at writing? I said, yeah. I said, I'm working on it now. But so then I had put together a script, and it needed a rewrite. And then at that point, I figured, you know what? I had other ideas. I had a notebook full of ideas. So I sat down and I wrote first drafts for all 4 of them. All right.
Oh, wow.
All 4 of them within. So it was that was a crazy week. It was right here where I'm at now. And I was literally just here in front of the computer, just constantly writing and thinking things and putting new things down. And you're just constantly building with them. So I got 4 first drafts done. And then it was right around that time. I just went ahead and said, you know what? a friend of mine, I was doing documentaries, local documentaries at that point for the showing them at the Crest Pier here for Hunts Pier and Fun Pier. And my mentor, Jim Demuse, who passed away a few years ago, he was a horror guy himself. He was a really brilliant man, brilliant man. People that ever worked closely with him used to always say he was a genius in the things he would come up with. He was into the theatrics too, but not film. He was interested in making the atmospheric haunted attractions like the Brigantine Castle, the Haunted Mansion at Long Branch, up on Morey's Pier, the Haunted House. They even did a Planet of the Apes ride. Back, I'm talking in 1975.
Yeah, sure.
You didn't have movie rides at this time. You know what I'm saying? But we had them here. There was a Poseidon Adventure ride right here on the boardwalk.
Oh, of course.
And all of them, as a kid going through this stuff, they were so well done. The memories of them stayed with you because of the fact they were so elaborate and, in a way, horrifying. Wow.
Yeah, because they didn't have the technology you have today, Scott. There's no way. And so they would have had super creativity to work with.
Exactly. And Jim's big thing was he was always telling me especially he said, if you're going to do any kind of movie, it's all about the atmosphere. You've got to have your atmosphere built. Sure. It's very important. So he said, his big thing was, if you're going to do comedy, it should be bright. It should be bright. It should be bright. It should be vibrant. It should be funny. It should be catchy. It should be eye popping. If you're going to do horror, then it should be dark colors.
A lot of red, a lot of black.
Blue, black, green. These kinds of. So I had gotten together with a friend of mine. He was a film student, and he was mentoring under me a little bit. So we went out and we filmed. I took my script for the Jersey Devil. I turned it into a 20-page short film called Lost in the Night. And I made it very small. I figured I want to make it claustrophobic. So I figured very small cast. I'll have a cameo in there somewhere as the uncle that you just fleetingly see. We'll have the kids, the two guys and the girl, the kids, and then they're being haunted. And we'll build upon that. So we were shooting. Some things work. That's when you don't plan things out well, you learn fast not to do things that way. And then we went back, we filmed it, and it turned out much better. So we cut it together, and that's my 29-minute short called Lost in the Night. It's playing in film festivals. We've been doing pretty good. It's been getting a lot of awards. Okay.
Is there a trailer for it, or is it just direct? You just see it in the film?
Oh, yeah. No, we have trailers for all my films.
Thank you. Yeah. I want it. And I'll make sure we promote that for you, too, so everyone can.
I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
You may have. You may have, Scott. I haven't had a chance to look at your thing. It's been a super busy day, and that's good. That's what we want.
No problem. And then after that,
I'll look at it.
A couple of years had gone by, and I was going to make another picture. And I started working with a crew that it wasn't going very well with, so I shut it down. And then I figured, you know what? We had a little bit of money. I said, why don't we try a feature film? It's going to be difficult. I knew it was going to be hard. Okay. And Jim Demuse was pushing me. He was still alive at this point. He said, why don't you do a werewolf? I said, Jim, I'm not big on werewolf stuff. He goes, yeah, but do it your way. I said, no full moons. No. He goes, look at The Howling. He said, one of the best ones. There's no full moons. They're transforming in the daylight. And I thought, yeah, you know what? That could be pretty cool. So I came up with the idea. I figured it was perfect time with COVID and everything going along, real paranoid time. And so I sat down and I wrote a script, first draft. And again, I showed it to Andrew because he would be my DP and my editor. And he liked it. And he said, I'm on. If we can rope this together, yeah, I'll do it. So I went over to my cousin and I secured the location, secured a few other things. And before you know it, I was doing rewrites and I was talking to people and everybody was enthusiastic and away we went. And 4 months later, found ourselves having to go back to do reshoots and recuts. And was able to get a test screening, which was interesting. My first test screening, it was some things worked, some things didn't. So you had to go back and be creative and figure out, okay, take this out, what to put in its place, make it shorter, make it longer. It was a really great experience. And the thing with Like Ham was one of the things that I personally always felt with growing up on the movies, I used to buy the soundtracks and I would sit and listen to the soundtracks. Yeah, if you would get a song or two, that was great. But mostly you're listening to the instrumentals, and the instrumentals are tugging at your emotions, whether you're going to be fearing or you're going to be excited or whether you're not going to be. So I always thought to myself, like with Tim Burton, he always uses Danny Elfman as his composer.
Okay.
And I thought one of the things is I would like to find somebody that kind of can figure out my style and find the music for my style. So when we did Lost in the Night, I used a friend of mine, Bill Catarini, and Donnie Shaw, and they did a good job. They did a decent job. But when we were going on to this one, I really felt that I really had to, I needed to find a stronger footing. So I went out there to a friend of mine who's a musician, and he says, I know lots of musicians. He says, do you want me to make a call? And I said, yeah, go ahead. Oh, man, I got hit with all these. So I went through, and there was one on there that they had sent me these songs. And I'm listening to the songs, and I thought, it sounds like the group my sister told me to listen to in Florida when I was there once. So I looked at the group and I thought, I got to call her up. So I called my sister and I said, this Black Valley Moon. Is this oh, yeah, remember? She said, remember we went over? I said, oh, all right. Yeah, no, thanks. So I said, I think I'm going to call this guy. So I got a hold of Sam and we had a good conversation. And we're very much like kindred spirits. We like the same stuff. And I was explaining to him the movie and all, and he said, yeah, absolutely, and I'll do it. I've been waiting to do this myself. And so he said, by the way, he says, we've got these unpublished songs. He said, I'll give you first dibs if you want to. So we took the two. The one song they just finished, Beware of the Night. And
Oh,
I
how
liked it.
perfect.
Yeah, and the thing of it was, I was listening to it. We hadn't been filming very long. Maybe, I don't know, 5 shooting days out of what, I don't know, 60 of them or whatever it was. And I would be listening to it and I thought, you know what? I called him up. I said, Sam, you know what? This is the theme song for the movie. So we're going to build the movie around this. Okay. So I said, I'd like to get pieces of it here, maybe for some intercuts, maybe when we have key-in moments, maybe we could like drift in, kind of like John Barry would do in the James Bond movies with the songs. Right. So we played around with that, but we waited until I finished shooting and we were making the cuts. And then Sam was looking at things. Sometimes he said, I have an idea. Can I run for a little bit? I said, yeah, sure. He comes in. Sometimes it was, my God, he's got it. Other times it was like, oh, Sam, we got to talk. And every time we did, he was just like, okay, just tell me, what are you thinking? I'm thinking. And then he would pretty much nail it all the time. So when we got through Lake Cayenne, it was great. And I was really hoping to shoot the Black Tent. That was the one I was really hoping would be next. I figured, and I had to talk with Sam. I had talked with several people about it. Everybody was excited. I've written so many drafts of that script, I can't tell you.
I lost you.
We could go ahead and comedy. I was, toying around with 5 Losers on a Line. It can be shot in one location, all about motels and how crazy it gets. And again, I went to one of my actors, Kevin Shelley, and he says, oh my God, I was a manager. Oh, I know I'll do it. And he's definitely a character all unto himself. So getting him on the picture was a good deal. And then he took over helping out with casting because he knows people all over the place. So he was bringing in all these people and everybody was great. It was, of the 3 pictures, the 5 Losers was the best shoot. It was the best. It flowed really nice. Everybody had a great time. There was no you never got behind. You never really felt like you were losing anything. It was never like, oh, now what am I going to do? We never had any of those moments. And that's doing well too. That's playing in the film festivals now also. In fact, that has gotten picked up at every film festival I've submitted it to. And it either gets like a 3rd place or a finalist award. It does very well, that one.
Awesome. Oh, that's wonderful. Now, right now you're shooting more films now, or what are we doing right now?
Right now, I can't talk much about it because I had a heck of an NDA like
Sure,
this last.
sure.
So last year, I met this film sales agent in New York, and he says, there are these guys looking to do a remake of this picture. Are you familiar with it? And I said, yeah, I know it's an old one, but yeah, I think I got the Blu-ray. And he says, they want to remake it. They're looking for a pitch. They're listening to them. They don't like anything so far. If you got a pitch, let me know. I'll get you in the meeting. So I went down into the theater because I have a theater, and I went down and I watched it, and I had my notebook, and I was taking. It was one of those movies I wanted to love, and I never really loved it, but there was things I liked about it. So I started to play with it, and I spoke to him, and I said, "They're still looking for a pitch for this thing." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You got one?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, let me make sure they're still looking. I'll get you the meeting." So I had the meeting with them. Went well. They hired me. They gave me this big contract like this, which was crazy. And I signed the contract, and it was for 2 drafts, two drafts of the script. It was interesting because normally I write on spec, which when you're doing that, you're writing just you. You're the critic, you're the writer, you're the character, you're everything. When you're doing it like this on a commission, you're not. You're bouncing ideas off each other, and everybody has to agree on it. And and it was actually really cool because in some ways I felt like I was moving much faster
Oh,
than I
okay.
normally do when I was on spec. And they felt like it was moving faster too because they weren't hearing any pitches that they liked. For some reason, they did like mine, thankfully, and they bought into it, obviously. And so we did do that, but that's being done by some professional film producers. That's they get the drafts together. You're a couple of years away from shooting.
Oh, okay. That's what I wondered, how long.
Yeah, so that was last year because they said they would be getting back to me probably next summer.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple
And
of years.
I totally understand that because some of them take, I know I've talked to producers and directors that they say sometimes it absolutely takes years. And then when it
Yeah,
finally comes together, you're already on other projects. So it's
yeah,
different. But I guess
sure.
that's good because that allows you to go and do other things too.
Exactly. And like the black tent, that was something that was, I really thought we had that at one point because
Oh,
I
okay.
had a concept artist working on it. We're getting concept drawings together. We had the set model created because I intend to make it like my homage to Tim Burton movies. It's going to have that,
Yeah.
that gothic style that, yeah, how he does and everything.
Yes.
But it's going to be a horror movie. It's got a monster in it. There's going to be gore. There's going to be blood. It's going to be. I think it's a really. It's an ever evolving script, and it's every draft ended up being better than the last draft. And I'm actually tweaking it now again. And the first draft I wrote 6 years ago.
Oh my
So
goodness.
so here 6 years later, I'm still working on this. In addition to the fact I've got a couple of other ones that I have to get a first draft going for.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Now, Scott, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be
I,
directing,
where
acting?
I,
What are you going to be doing? Writing? What are you going to do?
hopefully by that point I'll be an established writer getting gigs, and
Perfect.
hopefully I'll be directing films. That's the plan, and that my production company, Marksman Entertainment, will have more than just two people running it as it is right now.
Got it. Now, what's the best place that people want to reach out to you, Scott, to get you? Where can they get you?
Instagram, hand, all small letters, _Scott. The production company's on Instagram, Marksman Entertainment LLC. We have pages for KN, Five Losers on the Line has its own page on Instagram. The Black Tent has its own page on Instagram. Okay. I'm also on Facebook. I'm definitely on there. All the movies are on Facebook as
Yeah.
well. They have group pages there.
Are you
Everyone,
on IMDb as well, Scott?
I am. I am on IMDb. Yes.
So what I'll
And
do is sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and all the movies are listed as well under my IMDb.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do is make sure all your information's here on the show notes. We'll make sure all your links are here and you'll get those to me, I know, and then I'll find what I can for you. And then the audience will be able to reach out to you. So if anyone wants to connect with you, they certainly can. Now, I have one more question for you, Scott, before we go. Will you come back and do another episode?
Of course.
We did
Absolutely.
such a good job. I love your stories. I love everything about you. Just so gentle and what a wonderful person you are. And I can actually see you're very versatile. You could pretty much do any part in the movies. I know that. So what I'm thinking is down the road, because, we only get so much time in each one of these episodes, I would love it if you came back when you're ready to do your next project or when you feel that you'd like to bring something forward, because I really want to see what you're doing, and so does my audience. Okay.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Scott, thank you for your time today. I truly appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure, Teresa.
Thank you. And to everyone, this is Scott Hand. Go over to his Instagram, all his social medias. I'll have all of that here for you so you can all reach out, take a look at all of his works. He's done a great job, and everything coming forward, I'll make sure we have that too. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye.